relationships can be really hard work. I mean, we come to them with so much baggage without oftentimes being even aware of it. We have our attachment style, which is based on our family of origin. We have our triggers, we have our patterns, we have our rules and expectations for what relationships should look like. And oftentimes these aren't apparent initially because we tend to look at things quite superficially. We tend to look at appearance, we look at the sexual chemistry, we look at what a person likes to do with their leisure time or what kind of job that they have. And we really, if we want a strong, healthy relationship, need to be ready to put some skin in the game. We need to be very capable of vulnerability and authenticity. And unless we have done the work on ourselves, oftentimes we're unable to do the work in a relationship. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that all is lost, because a lot of the work that needs to be done is work that can only be done in a relational context, because a lot of the wounds that we have, a lot of the triggers that we have are a consequence of our childhood relationships and oftentimes need to be brought up in the context of a relationship in order to do the healing work. But you do need willingness on both parts. You do need people who have, I suppose, a shared game plan, that have shared core values and beliefs, that have a shared interest in emotional connection and in being more spiritually connected as a couple. Because ultimately, a relationship is a sacred place. It's a place where there should be intimacy, where there should be trust. And if you're not working towards that, then ultimately you're missing out on the foundation of a relationship. And oftentimes then when I suppose surface level issues come into play, such as kids and finances, all of a sudden it can feel like as if the relationship is on very shaky ground, because you just don't have that underlying foundation. However, that being said, as I said, with willingness and with an openness to learning and a curiosity about your partner, you can build on those skills. And a lot of those skills are just, I suppose, creating a level of self-awareness, being able to understand yourself and your own emotional experience, being able to understand some of the ways in which you may perhaps be a little bit defensive or reactive based on your childhood and your past relationships, but also being able to see things from another person's perspective. We tend to be in a very egoic state. We tend to want to protect ourselves at all times, as opposed to moving into a non-dual, very open-minded, open-hearted way of thinking and being. And when we're there, when we're fixated on being right, when we're fixated on, kind of cynical thinking and being judgmental and seeing everything as a personal attack on us and blaming and not taking ownership or accountability or responsibility for our role in the relationship, then unfortunately our partner just becomes the enemy. It's all this finger pointing and resentment begins to build, and we just end up having the same arguments over and over again. They may sound different, but they all have the same underlying emotional undercurrent, and that is, I don't feel seen, I don't feel heard, I don't feel recognized, I don't feel appreciated, I do not feel loved. Because ultimately that's what we all want. We all want to feel like we're special to somebody, and if that isn't available in our relationship, then we do tend to retract, we do tend to draw back, and it's about having humility and being able to say, okay, do you know what, I'm hurting here, and being authentically vulnerable with your partner, but also then being able to hold a space for that information and work with you to try and resolve it. And again, as I said, that is a skill that both parties need to work on, to be able to be empathetic and to be aware of the other person's emotional state as well as your own, and to be able to work through these things with open communication and an openness to just being kind to each other. I mean, sometimes when we've been in a relationship for long enough, we forget about how important it is to be just nice to each other, to be complimentary, to be flirtatious, you know? I mean, this is the person that you're meant to love more than anybody, and we tend to be the most cynical and critical of our partners as opposed to the most loving. And as I said, you can always move towards growth. You can use any of the conflict within your relationship or even within yourself as an opportunity to grow as a person, and that can be scary. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but ultimately you become a better person and a better partner as a consequence, you know. And be creative, be curious. I mean, your relationship is what you make it. It's not set in stone, and if you assume that it's always going to be the same, that it's never going to evolve, that you always wanted to be the way it was in the first 6 months when you got together, then you're going to run into bother, because as people we should be evolving. We cannot expect to be the same in our 40s as we were in our 20s, you know. So it's about recognizing that you need to adjust and you need to upgrade your skills as a partner. You know, you do it at work, why not do it in your relationship and in the home place? And then it's looking at the power struggle. An awful lot of couples have this kind of pull and push where one person feels like the other person has a one-upmanship. And it's recognizing that it's not about being equal all the time. It's just about recognizing that each other has different needs and you're just both trying to meet those to the best of your capacity. But you cannot have your needs met if you do not even understand what they are. So you need to be very vocal. You need to be able to verbalize what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and how it's impacting on your capacity to love your partner. And again, it's all about those bids for connection. It's all about the little things that we do. You know, we tentatively kind of reach out to our partner in very subtle ways, and if they don't pick up on that, or if they don't tend to that, then we tend to be rejected and we pull back into our shell and we become resentful. So it's about constantly keeping an eye out for when your partner reaches out to you, you know, and being available for that deeper connection, being available to build as opposed to deconstructing, you know, and recognizing that we all have this beautiful capacity within us, you know, for love, for kindness, for connection. And nowhere is it more apparent than in our relationship with our significant other. It's a very sacred thing, as I said, you know, and it's about two higher powers coming together and just building something amazing, as opposed to two people coming together and tearing each other apart. And so, as I said, it's not always easy because partners can piss you off so much. And I mean, you're going to have day to day pressures and struggles and conflicts. But it's recognizing that it's you and your partner against the world, not you against your partner. And it's not their job to fix you, it's not their job to heal you, it's not their job to do the inner journey work that is requisite for so many people and that helps people become a better partner. However, they can support you and they can choose to go on their own journey and do their own work and walk their own path. And hopefully at some stage those paths are going to come together and you're going to walk the walk. And I love that quotation by Ramdas that says, you know, we're all just walking each other home. And we are. So anyway, if anyone would like to work on being more available to their partner, or if you would like to do a little bit of work on creating better self-awareness, or indeed work on any mental health issue, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie.